You know, there's a lot of things there's been a lot of things that have been affected just because it's such an eyesore at this point.
All right, there was a hand up over here.
You know, I'm a lifelong resident myself also, and I lived here before, obviously before Route 28 went through. We would always be too big through there. We would do down the rock cut and walk back up to my parents' house. And prior to Route 28 going through and that bridge going in there, we would jump out of our tubes right after the rear bridge and just swim, let the tubes float ahead, and then we'd have to catch up to them down by the rapids where the stream bends. That is now my property. I own that creek frontage there that's always building up with a gravel barn. And in years past, Art May took the stuff out of there and filled out of there. And the last person to take any out was Sasha Argonaut. And I know that the state gave him a very hard time trying to get any of that filled out. And he was the very last one. So I don't know the difference, what happened, whatever. But, you know, I don't blame these contractors who don't want to be taking stuff out. But another one of my points also is that Route 212 needs to have a larger, wherever that stream is going under that road, there needs to be a larger culvert or something, because Route 212, where it ramps up onto Route 28, is very frequently closed when we have heavy rains. And I don't know, you know, that's not a good thing, because the other end, Wittenberg corner down there, that goes under the four corners, that gets underwater too. So it's not a good thing to have those people in there isolated. And again, I never remember flooding on there prior to the road going through. So I think it was short-sighted. A lot more houses went up on Wittenberg Road. There was more building up there, which meant, you know, clear cutting. And then the water runs down that hill and the stream couldn't handle.
Good, thank you.
Maybe we could take a few more and then hopefully we can
Can I ask one more question? It's just a question.
I hope
I
we
know
have an
it's
answer.
maintenance, but this has, with the creek and everything, but we're in the Catskills. Is the maintenance of these hills, these mountains, have something to do with more water coming down, creating a problem? Because a dead tree on the ground stops new growth. And I don't know if you ever did a study,
So,
would it help? You're 2.5 inches of rain. If the ground can absorb more water, and let water come down into the creek.
actually, it's almost just the opposite phenomenon that we see. So if you have a forest that's heavily treed with living and brush, you know, down trees below, and that stops water from hitting the ground and hightailing it to the river. When you come through and let's say you put 20 houses on a hill that used to be forested, now that water has a very fast way of getting from where it is down to the creek. So that will.
I'm not talking about logging, I'm just talking about cleaning it up.
But
With
the-
new growth, there's more growth.
So the debris
developed.
is an issue, not so much because it's prohibiting things from growing back, but because in an area where the water flows, which is the floodplain, if it can be moved, it's going to move. We've seen cars, we've seen boulders the size of this. So debris management within the floodplain can be very, very beneficial so that when the floodwaters do come, all that stuff's not floating down, clogging bridges, clogging water from flowing. But taking dead wood that's high up in the hills is not necessarily something that's going to help flooding down here. The opposite would be very bad. If you were to clear cut those hills, you would be having flood problems like no tomorrow. But debris within that floodplain is a huge problem. And debris can be wood and sticks and logs. Debris can be propane tanks. Debris can be lawn
And so
furniture.
many people want that wood, and they were told, you cannot do this. It will disturb your fish. The fish cannot breathe in that creek because it's muddy. There's no fish can live in that water. So why, it's just, how can a handful of people have so much power to say, no, you can't do this?
Well, we do need to work. So one of our reality checks that we need to bring to you is what we can do and what we can't do, and we can't change that. We're not going to change legislation. We're not going to change laws. We're not going to suddenly find a silver bullet that will fix every problem here. So it's our responsibility to tell you what we can and what we cannot do within the confines of the world we need to live in, which is protection of fish, which is protection of water quality, which is regulatory permits that are likely or not likely to be granted. So I hear your frustration, I hear your history, and we will do what we can do to try and figure out a way to make things better within all the constraints that we all need to live with.
You just answered your own question. When the trees fall down and they're laying across the ground, the water can't flow because of those trees laying there. It's the same way with these rocks and trees up in the middle of the creek. The water can't go anyplace because they have to go around the trees. If we can't cut them up, let's go out there and just burn the whole pile. It's in the middle of no place. It's not going to hurt anything all the time. Let the contractors come in and get some stones. They can use it.
Okay, but we don't have any control over that. That's what you need saying. We have to work within the confines of,
There's 10,000 people walking up and down the dike with paper. And you ask them, what are they going to do? Oh, I'm not involved with this one.
okay,
You know,
so-
I know what you're going to do. You're going to take these papers home, put them on a shelf, and forget all about it, move it back there next year, and we'll go through the same thing. Been going on since Irene. I know the boss that used to do that.
Well, our aim is to not leave here in 6 months with nothing. Our aim is to come up with a plan. We're not gonna have everything fixed and built in 6 months, but we're here representing you, all of you in this room. And so our job is to take what you say and go back and look at it, come back and report to you what we find, and be very honest with you in areas. There will be, I guarantee you, there will be places on these creeks where there's little to nothing that can be done. We've seen situations where there was a house, not just in the floodplain, but in the floodway. Maybe the best thing for that particular location is to either accept that it's going to flood or move out. There will be some places where we cannot do anything. But the vast majority of these areas, our goal is to get in there and figure out what we can do to slow water down and to lower water surface elevations.
When they cleared out the beaver kill where it comes in underneath the bridge over on the other side, almost 28 over there, they did a beautiful job. They cut the bank right back around, and what happened? Instead of bringing it through this side so it could flow underneath the bridge, they brought it this way around, and all the trees from the bank toppled down, and now they lay there in the creek, and you can't even fish in there because there's trees all over the place, and they spent all that money to clean that out over there, and now you got trees laying in the middle of the street.
And who did that work?
Beg pardon?
Who did that work?
Whoever you people had in here digging out the creek, they dug it out and they came right around the bank and all the trees.
we have to be clear who us people are. You can't lump us all together.
They didn't come in and drop trees down in here.
No, I know. Also, it's,
I'm saying, when they cut the bank foot, they back out, and somebody came in and cut the trees so the water could flow.
yeah. So you got to be careful what you do in the stream.
I mean, I think we're going to all come out with great ideas out of it, but how much is going to be feasible and economically doable? So even if we come up with a great, not maybe the magic bullet, but a good one, you know.
So the LFA is the price of admission. The LFA is going to give us the information and the data that you will have, the town will be able to share with DEP, DEC, and other funding agencies that are out there. That is exactly the question that we are endeavoring to answer. What is feasible? What can be done? What can be done with how many dollars, and what benefit will it bring? So that's exactly what we've just begun. We come here with no answers. We're coming here purposefully to hear from you first. Our next time back, then we will be here with more of the answers to those kinds of questions. What's feasible, what's not feasible, where would be the best place to spend money, where would be the best place to try and get money to make these improvements.
Do you have any documentation that shows you where the original creek bed was 40 years ago?
We have some pretty good aerial photographs that can show us that going back to the 1930s. We look at them. It's one of our sort of due diligence pieces that we'll look to see where the creek was. They're only as good as the aerial photographs. We have some historical studies, we have some old FEMA cross-sections. It's not a complete great record, but we have some, and we will definitely look at that.
Yeah, I think putting the creek back in its original course and getting rid of the gravel in there, because it's pretty simple. You raise the earth, everything on top of the earth goes up with it. So,
Well, between tonight and last week, we have definitely heard your voice. Loud and clear.
it's not rocket science.
That you
It's not
don't
rocket
want to
science.
go.
Everybody knows what the problem is. It's just where the fund's gonna come from to remove that catastrophic amount of gravel.
So if I suggest that maybe we break up, Vernon is right back there. Could we color coded Vernon and Mark to look exactly identical tonight? And myself, we've got maps up here, we've got markers. We would love to, come draw all over it. We're gonna jot down notes. We're gonna make sure that so when you say near my house, I don't know where your house is, come show us. Tell us more of your stories, and we'll try and get as much of that captured tonight as we can. And we certainly have our work cut out for us. We will be working hard on your behalf. Okay?
Yeah, go search.
And these are the handouts I was talking about. I'm leaving right here. Do you have
These ones are on aerial photos. And those ones are on
When was these aerial photos taken?
They're pre-Irene photos.
I made them.
Mark, where's your
Gotta find a 28 grid.
Yeah, this one's the overall. So there's three.
I got one over here. Do you have an email? I will give you I'll give you my card. And then you can email me your address, and then I can get that out to you. Okay, that is his card. That is me. Great, thank you. Right. It's challenging. I wish we had great answers for it. Oh, okay.
That's around 328.
Yeah.
This is south.
Okay. So it's left and back?
When this backs up,
And you get it there. All right. Okay.
They built a dike in the rest of the way all over here. What happened is, I watched it, he told me what was gonna happen. That water started backing up right against this levee here. Which is a button for the bridge, because they raised the earth right here. So that water backed up here, just like this, it came right around, all the water. Flowing. This was water doing this. I walked right around. When it got right to here, the water jumped. It all just came up real quick. Once that water backed up and right here, all that water came flying over. It started going around, started coming through the flat, down through the jack. The bottle, like I said, it's like you take a wine bottle and you got the neck. That's the neck of a wine bottle right there.
and Liz and Pat were right here on the curb, and they missed it.
It came right back at you. I watched it, just like Alton Knapp told me. He goes, that water's going to come from that bridge. That bridge is the problem. Because that water's going to come from that bridge and come right into you. And I watched it. It started going right toward your barn, started coming into my driveway, creeping at me, going around the side. And then when it reached almost perpendicular with my house, the water upstream jumped over. I had nowhere to go. I had to jump. It just jumped right over and boom, there you go.
But it's amazing to think of the volume of water. When they got my house, they got us out on a boat We went here all the way to 28. It was all deep water, and right on the other side was the dry side. This was all wet. This was all water.
They were standing right here.
Boat to get out.
They were standing here with the boat looking at me.
Yeah.
I was standing on the front yard. They were looking at me. And I was like,
They had to rescue us.
I'm not getting in that boat.
Oh,
You
no.
can't- They couldn't see what I could see.
Oh, you got the spot. You were
No
perfect.
way I was getting
And
in
then
that
it
boat.
all went in through here. This
Right.
is where it really
And
killed
when it
everybody.
jumped the dike over here, that surprised me. This bottleneck caused the water to jump
And
right
then
over
right
here
into here.
by Mrs. Byron.
Yep, that's where it went in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It jumps here. It jumps right here. And then all of this flood. Ricely Corner, right, literally right here.
Well, wait a minute. Pat and Liz didn't get hit.
But it jumped, right? Where is the Rotellas?
The back, but the house didn't get
Where's
touched.
your house? Because that's where it jumped, right? Right by you.
Yeah.
Right in
No, no,
here.
no.
No, here's Marty. Here's Marty.
You're right there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
No, no, it came up by Gutman's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
right
Gutman.
by
Ricely
Gutman's.
Corner.
Right.
It always jumps Ricely Corner.
And then,
Here.
yes,
Yeah.
right there.
I mean, literally right in the corner of the property here, it jumps it. Because the creek is
And
pushed
in
to
front
the
of your
side of
house,
the
there was
bank.
another one. There was another one
All
over
this
here.
gravel causes the creek to stay over here and jump.
And also the water, of course, it floods more because it has so much.
Yeah, all that volume pushes it up.
You know, it has always really good.
And this was when Marty lived, and there was a break right over there, right? Right like that. And then the lake, where's the water from the lake? Here. And that would break, that flooded it, didn't it? And all this, the little pond behind the Emerson. The pond over here. Yeah.
This is Ricely Corner right here. This is where it jumps. It jumps right here. That's not Gutman's. Gutman's is right over here. He's right here. Wayne's over here. Here's the Emerson. This is Mount Pleasant Road right here. There's the gravel bank right
That
there.
built up over
This
the
is
years.
the corner it jumps.
Yeah.
It jumps right there. And it floods.
That's
This
the
is the
gravel.
flat. They call this Ricely Flat.
Right.
It goes right through here, right through Jeff, right through, and it just joins up with here. And then you're surrounded.
But it did go
360.
over here. And then this right in here is built up over the years. It used to come straight. There used to be two. Now when it makes this turn, it really has a whip to it that it feels like it's
Downhill run.
gonna
That
go
creek
through here.
was over here.
It used
And
to.
all that gravel was up against this bank. It used to be way over there, and it used to go way over here, and it was on both sides of the
Of the
green
bridge,
bridge.
the old bridge, yep.
And it was deep. The swimming hole was right there. It was 15 feet
One of
deep.
the spans is blocked, is that what you're saying? One of the spans is blocked.
On this side. On that side of the drop. That was our swimming hole right there. That was 15 feet deep. We used to jump off that bridge.
Yeah, our son used to jump off
Yeah, all
that.
the kids used
Oh,
to.
yeah, absolutely. Martin Schlegel, Moose Schlegel held a record, 59 jumps in one day.
Straight off the bridge.
You remember Martin, Moose? Yeah. 69 jumps in one day off of there.
Take the water from this ditch out. And if it does, it's going to impact the studio.
Yeah.
They fixed the road over here. It's still backed up however. The culvert is closed. And they said, we just opened it. Because they opened it on the other side. They didn't open it on this side. So when they came over, they dug it out. They dug the ditch and that worked. So it's still back some.
Well, it's amazing. There was like a 15-foot erosion right here on the right side of 28.
The water never jumped.
Yeah, where it went over.
And it jumped. Because all the debris that was up against this bridge, I'm surprised that bridge didn't fall over.
Yeah.
But the debris that was
In some ways,
piled up
it's too bad it
there.
didn't, because we didn't have to put it there. But I'm curious, now I've gone by here lots of times, and I wondered if it's just an idea I'm throwing out there. Would it be possible to put like flood pipes, holders in there? That would handle overflow of not up there?
You'd have to go in and look. My driveway's right here next to Jimmy's barn. You see Jimmy's blue barn with a tractor trailer?
You see me walking around out there tomorrow, that's what I'm...
I'll walk right. I'll be up in the morning. Yeah.
No COVID anywhere.
No, that's what I'm saying, and what if you put them in? Just to...
Well, it takes the water out that came from the other side.
Right down on the flat, and you can
Sure.
see it coming through Jeff's yard.
Yeah.
Right through the yard.
Comes right
Out here in
through.
the daytime, you'll see that gravel bank is about 5 foot high.
Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And it comes
It always.
There's a little cut through there off the main street. It comes right in that little barn. And that's when it comes down through there. They never continued. The dike was up further. It's an actual curve in there. That's what
Yeah, you could.
water's got to come down.
That's Riceley Corner. That guardrail was wiped out from here from the rocks and stuff, didn't it?
Oh, the whole thing, they had a good 20-foot ditch right there.
Sure, that was what, 80 what? That last big one before I went.
Oh,
It was in the early 80s.
yeah.
Oh, is it up here more?
Yeah, up there.
Well, we can get the other map.
You look on the right-hand side,
Plank Road is, if it's on this map.
you got an island there. The stream on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Trees don't fall off the ridge.
Yeah, that was never there.
28's up here.
The crook was on the other side of that island.
No, old 28's here, right?
Old 20.
No, but they're asking me a different question.
Blank Road, right here.
It runs on the far side, right up to...
Get on that side of the table.
Where Jimmy's talking is right up the road here, maybe
On 28.
3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, right in the middle of 20-foot trees, the streams on both sides. Next one's 28.
Okay,
Oh, that's right, I know where you're going. Yeah, I know.
Okay. Old 20. This is right. Whoops,
Blank
right
Road.
here, sorry.
Yep.
Plank Road. This is over 28 right here.
That's Blank Road.
And so where's it? Right here. Is that the island? How are you?
the other one.
Hi. That looks like Emerson right here. So this is the island. Okay. This is it. Right here. It's right This is where there I actually have it now after this slide. And since they were there, so is that? The DEC. I have a letter for you. And the berm was a sign of protect against tonight. But when he was there, it was 2010, that flood in 2010, and you'll see the pictures in there. Yeah. Once it reached, or the berm went over the berm, it never worked. The problem with mine, they always reach at some point. Well, like Doris had one up there about